Hello everyone, I hope you can see me. I'm having some technical issues here. One second, let me just, I cannot get feedback in my phone, okay. Okay, fine. Now it's all right. Okay. Okay. So no, I was just trying out the new, the hotkey feature in OBS. I am not used to it. So just checking if it was working. All right. So first of all, let me just say, if you have any, in last class, some people has said there was some, quality issues or something like that. If you face any such issues, or not to worry, simply, just go to the settings in YouTube and change the quality to a higher one. Okay, 480p or 360p or something like that. Okay, maybe it will be automatically loading in 144p or something. That is why you are facing that quality issue. Okay, so anyway, let's begin today's class. That is the last lecture regarding Indian history part 1. Okay, themes in Indian history part 1. So this is again based on class 12th textbook, and we have completed 3 sessions in this so far, and today is the final session. Tomorrow we will look into the second textbook, that is themes in Indian history part 2 and then part 3. Okay, so by the end of that, I think our entire NCERT will be completed. We have already covered from standard 6 to standard 11. So this is the last textbook. Okay, so this is lecture 4 out of 4. So welcome to the class again. So let's begin. Okay, so before that, let me just introduce to you about Unacademy. Unacademy is India's largest learning platform, which offers you a wide variety of things, including daily live classes where you can chat and interact with your educator, clear your doubts, queries, etc. Live tests and quizzes where you can evaluate yourself and understand your performance. And just remember that today at 5:15 p.m. I'll be completing the last lesson by 5:15 p.m. and we will be going to a live app quiz. Okay, so I request all of you to be ready with the Unacademy learning app by 5:15 p.m. All right. Then Unacademy offers you structured courses where the entire syllabus of that examination is covered, unlimited access to all our materials. To get all these things first, the first thing to do is download Unacademy learning app from Google Play or App Store and create an account. Okay, so I am Madhav Sankar R Warrier. This is my Telegram channel. You can follow me here in order to get my class schedule, updates, links, etc. etc. Also, please follow me on unacademy.com/msrw. So that you can get a notification whenever I schedule a class. Okay, so Unacademy brings you all these educators from all over the country who are extremely reputed and will definitely be of help for preparing for UPSC. So these are the basic packages. So 2 packages are available for UPSC students. One is known as the Plus, other one is known as the Iconic. The Plus package is given to you in these different timelines, starting from 1 month all the way to 3 years. So a typical 1-year subscription will cost you about 49,500 rupees. But upon using my code MSRW1, you can get 10% discount and can pay only 44,550. Okay, so this deduction is applicable on using my code. So there is another kind of subscription known as Iconic subscription, which is exclusively for UPSC aspirants. Here, along with the along with the Plus benefits, you will also be getting personal coach, daily mains answer writing practice, study planner, and personalized feedback sessions. Okay, so here these are the 3 packages available to you. Again, using my code will give you 10% discount, and you will have to pay only 62,550 for a 1-year class. Okay, and for the optional courses, these are the available packages. Just browse through them. Unacademy offers you almost all the optional subjects for UPSC. You can go through them. So here also 1-year subscription costing 27,500, but using my code will provide you 10% discount. Okay, so that is it regarding the different packages. If you have any queries regarding how to get a subscription or about the packages or anything, you can ask me and I will get back to you. All right, so let's begin our session. Themes in Indian History part 1. This is the first textbook and this is the last lecture on that textbook. Okay, so let's start. All right. So theme 4, thinkers, beliefs and buildings, cultural developments from 600 BCE to 600 CE. So we are covering the period of 1200 years. I have already told this in my previous classes. So this is the timeline we are going to look at. Okay, so just to give you a very brief introduction. We have already looked into some literary works. We have looked into some archaeological evidences, pillars, inscriptions, certain dynasties, like Mauryas, Guptas, etc. Okay, so basically most of the available knowledge regarding this period is obtained from compiled as well as oral records. Okay, some of the information are passed through oral records, which eventually gets compiled or eventually gets written, and some are directly literary sources that we obtain through manuscripts, through inscriptions, firmans, etc., etc. Okay, but along with them we also get some architectural as well as sculptural evidences. This is what is important to us in this session. Okay, architectural and sculptural evidences. So architectural example, Sanchi Stupa, or say the iron pillar. These are architectural evidences. Then we have sculptural evidences. Within this Sanchi Stupa itself, you can see lots of carvings. Okay, some beautiful figures of lions, animals, serpents, etc., etc. These are the sculptural evidences. So studying these things, we can understand a lot of things about this period. Okay, from 600 BCE to 600 CE. This is the time era. So understand that most of this available knowledge is influenced by the thinkers of at that time. Correct, right? I mean, whenever we study about a period, in totality, that period is known for the kind of thought or kind of social collaboration that existed at that time. Okay, so here also the influence of a lot of thinkers on the society are very evident from all these evidences or proofs that we obtain. Okay, this is also the time when we see the emergence of some other religions such as Buddhism, Jainism, etc. Okay, I mean Brahmanism or the Brahmanism was the dominant trait at that time, and because of the rigidity in Brahmanism and because of the Varna system and its negative impacts in the society, some other religions started arising known as Buddhism, Jainism, etc., etc. We will study about that as well in detail later, but today we will just brush upon them. Okay, so all these records, Buddhist books, Jainist books, Brahmanical textbooks, all these provide us a very large amount of data regarding that period. You know about the books, right? The Tripitakas of Buddhism. Similarly, Jainism has their own textbooks. Brahmanism has their own textbooks. Dharma Sutra, Dharma Shastra, okay, Manusmriti. All these textbooks give us a lot of idea about those periods. Understand that the monuments and remains, inscriptions also provide the whatever is missing in these written records. Fine. So first and foremost, we'll be looking into the Sanchi Stupa. We have already covered Sanchi Stupa in our art and culture session in the last week. If you have any queries, you can go back and watch that video. Okay, so here you have to understand that Sanchi Stupa is one of the two sites from where we get the lion pillar. Can anybody tell me what is the other one? What is the most prominent site from where we got iron pillar? Our national capital or national emblem, the lion pillar, is actually from Saranath. Don't confuse this. Everybody gets this wrong. Okay, our national emblem is from Saranath iron pillar, not Sanchi. Sanchi also has an iron pillar. Okay, so in Sanchi, which is situated in the Madhya Pradesh state, very close to Bhopal, its capital, we see that most of the part of this lion pillar is already collapsed. I mean, it is in a ruined, damaged state. Okay, but the stupa is almost still very much intact. Okay, thanks to a very famous person known as Shah Jahan Begum. Okay, it was due to her efforts that the facility or this stupa is still in such a such a well preserved manner. Why? Because during the time of the British people actually tried to take away these the parts of various stupas. They tried to take away the beautiful carvings within the stupas to their own museums. London Natural History Museum, and they have British Museum. So they tried to take all these things from their colonies back to England. But due to the efforts of many people, especially Shah Jahan Begum and her successor Sultan Jahan Begum, Sanchi Stupa is still more or less very much intact. Okay. So this is also the reason why John Marshall, very famous historian who studied this site, dedicated his work to Sultan Jahan. Okay, all his findings in the Sanchi area has been dedicated to Sultan Jahan by John Marshall, a very famous historian from British era. Why? Because of his contribution to preserving the Sanchi Stupa. You can see a very beautiful image of Sanchi Stupa here. You can see the Anda area is very much intact. You can see the three Toranas here. One is at the back also. Okay, you can see the Vediga. I hope you can see the Harmika. I hope you know these termings, right? I have already talked to you about this. This is known as Anda. If you do not know, please take this down. Very important. You can expect such questions in UPSC. This is Anda. This is Torana. Okay, and you have here you can see the Vediga. Okay, then here is Harmika. Okay, and this is Kshatri. Okay, these are the important parts of a stupa. This is very much common to most of the stupas. If you did not know about these things, do read into that. Okay, I have already taken classes regarding this. That is why I am not putting more time into it. So let's go back to what was the condition of life in about the mid first millennium BC. Okay, so this time, along with Buddhism, Jainism, etc., we see some other dominant religions also arising. Okay, emergence of thinkers such as Zoroaster in Iran, Kongzi in China, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, etc. in Greece, and also Mahavira and Gautama Buddha in India. So this period, the first millennium BCE, is very much important to man. Why? Because this is the period when this kinds of thought started coming up. Okay, it arose in almost all the parts of the world, but what is of interest to us is what happened in India. That is regarding Mahavira and Buddha. Okay, so these thinkers, what did they think about? What was their thought? They wanted to understand the mysteries of existence. Okay, relationship between human beings and the cosmic order. You know about this, right? Philosophical schools. Okay, this is very soon we will also see the emergence of Upanishads. Okay, philosophical systems, philosophical thoughts. So these kinds of questions were thought about by these very famous thinkers. This is also the time when we see the emergence of a lot of kingdoms. The Nandas, the Mauryas, the Indo-Greeks, Bactrians, Parthians, all these people emerged around the same period of time. Okay, so just like life was happening in the upper classes, various dynasties, etc., there were many changes in social as well as economic life of common man as well. Okay, especially in the Ganges Valley. So from in the Indus Valley, you know that the people migrated onto the Ganges Valley after Indus Valley civilization collapsed. Okay, so at the Ganges Valley, we are seeing a new method of life. People started settling down. People started, doing a lot of things. So there is many socio-economic changes happening here. We will look into that. Don't worry. Okay, so from the thoughts of these thinkers, from the philosophical systems that emerged at this time, we can understand that, we can understand a lot about the society that was happening in that particular time period. Okay, so, sorry. So we also know that around this period, we see pre-existing traditions of thought, religious belief and practice. Okay, I mean, even before this time, the time we are talking is between 600 BC and 600 AD. Even before this time, we already know that some kind of traditional systems existed within the society. But this system will see considerable change during this 1200 years. Okay, so early Vedic tradition, for example, known as Rig Veda. Okay, I mean, there are 4 Vedas, you know about it: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharvaveda. Rig Veda is the most ancient one among these 4 textbooks. This is also one of the most ancient textbook of Hinduism. Okay, so Rig Veda forms the basis of Vedic tradition. This is expected to be compiled somewhere between 1500 BC to 1000 BC. This is the the rough timeline. Rig Veda was not composed by one particular person or something. It was done in phases. Okay, the initial textbook was very small, but later on various portions were added to it, and right now we have the Rig Veda, which is a collection of all these things. Okay, so this Veda basically has the hymns and praises of various deities, Agni, Indra, Soma, etc. You know this also, right? At those times, it was not Vishnu or Shiva or Durga who was prominent. The most prominent gods were Agni, Indra, and Soma. Okay, so Rig Veda was basically a textbook that were, that had hymns and prayers to these gods. All right. Again, from Rig Veda, we understand that at first sacrifices were performed collectively. I mean, there was the clan system existed at that time, or the group together worked as a unit. So all the sacrifices or whatever rituals are conducted is done by the entire group rather than one person or something like that. But we will soon see that this setup changes in this period. Okay, rather than doing it collectively, these religious rituals were conducted by one particular person or a group of persons. For example, in a family system, earlier the rituals were conducted together by all the family members, but very soon this was replaced by the main man, okay, the head of the house conducting the ritual on behalf of all the family members. Similarly, in ruling classes, it was the kings with the assistance of the priests who conducted all these sacrifices. Okay, I mean, priests do the sacrificial rituals and all, and the king will patronage him. That is how it happened. Okay, for example, Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, you have heard about these things, right? Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajapaya, all these are very famous sacrifices conducted by very strong kings and emperors to expand their glory, to expand their kingdom, etc., etc. All right. So for this purpose, the Kshatriyas actually seek the help of Brahmanas. So this is how the system existed at that time. In the four Varna system, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas had this kind of tie-up. Okay, Brahmanas will help the Kshatriyas in getting that legitimacy to rule. Okay, I mean, Brahmanas are considered closer to the gods, right? I mean, that is how the belief was at that time. So, a validation by a Brahmana to a person gives him the eligibility to rule. That was the ideology here. So, in return, the kings, the Kshatriya clan will give lots and lots of money and gifts to the Brahmanas. Okay, so this was how the Varna system was interdependent around this time. Now, this is also the time when we see the emergence of a lot of questions. I discussed about this very briefly in the introduction slide. Okay, I hope there is no audio issues or anything. If you have any queries or anything, you can put it in the chat. Right now, I do not see anything in the chat. I think the chat is on itself. Okay, am I audible? Can anybody post something in the chat, or hi or something in the chat, just to see if the chat is working? Okay. All right. So the new questions, basically Upanishads. So Upanishads basically asked a lot of philosophical questions. What happens after death? Is there a soul? Is there this Atma, Paramatma, Jivatma, all these basic things and all? These were the questions asked by the Upanishads. Okay. So the meaning of life, the possibility of life after death, rebirth. These questions are still there, right? I mean, we do not have an answer to any of these questions even now after 2500 years. So these questions emerged around this period in the Vedic age. Okay, so understanding and expressing the nature of ultimate reality. So we have this controversy between Maya and reality. Some monks say that it is best to become an ascetic because the entire world around us is just Maya. Okay, for example, Shankaracharya told you that. In his Advaita philosophy, Shankaracharya said that the entire world is Maya. You have to achieve knowledge and thereby attain salvation. Okay, so these kinds of queries, these kinds of philosophical thoughts all emerged at this time. Okay, some philosophical thoughts were actually outside the Vedic tradition. For example, these asked whether or not there even was a single ultimate reality. Okay, so there are Vedic philosophical schools and non-Vedic philosophical schools. Okay, the Vedic schools include the Vaisheshika system, the Advaita school, Vedanta school, Mimamsa school, etc., etc. And then we have the non-Vedic schools such as the Charvaka school, Lokayana philosophy, etc., etc. So what is the main difference here? First one is based on Vedas and Vedic understandings, while the second school is not based on Vedas. So second school actually challenges the Vedas. They are asking whether this ultimate reality, the so-called God, or so the Paramatma, does this even exist? Okay, I mean, that kind of thought is emerged in the non-Vedic textbooks. So people also began speculating on the significance of sacrificial tradition. So once this philosophy emerged in the intellectual scenario, along with the faith, okay, there also emerged a sacrificial or a ritualistic tradition. Right now, if you consider, say, a temple, for example, Shabarimala. Okay, Shabarimala temple, it was in news very recently because of the Supreme Court judgment regarding women entry and all. So there the question is, even when articles were published on Shabarimala, we saw two aspects. One is philosophical aspects regarding some Upanishads, the word Tattvamasi, etc., etc. And we saw some controversies regarding ritualistic aspects, which are based on tradition, which are based on some textbooks written, ages ago. So both these things, philosophy as well as ritualistic elements, emerged around this time. Okay, people began to look into faiths as well. Okay, so Bhagya, thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, now I can see the chats. So again, let me just tell you, at 5:15, I hope to complete this session by 5:15, and at 5:15 we do the app quiz, live app quiz. Also, at 8 p.m. today, I am starting the Ancient India MCQ series in Unacademy app. Okay, so please do join that session also. World history classes are completed. Now it is MCQ sessions from today onwards. Okay, so debates and discussions. So just like Hinduism, I told you Buddhism and Jainism also emerged as kind of it emerged as a kind of contradiction to the dominant position played by the Brahmanical elements at that time. So Buddhist textbooks actually mention as many as 64 sects or schools of thought. Okay, I mean, Buddhism is not just one philosophical school. Within Buddhism itself, there are multiple philosophies, multiple theories, etc., etc. We know about three prominent schools: Mahayana, Hinayana, and Vajrayana. We know the difference between all these three as well. But similarly, within Buddhism, we see about 64 sects that we do not have to study in detail or anything, but just understand this. Okay, so debates took place in the Kutagarashala. Okay, literally a hut with a pointed roof, or in the grooves where traveling mendicants halted. So Buddhist monks had this very peculiar character that they will not stay in a place for a very long time. I think I explained this earlier itself. They will keep on traveling. They will not stay at a particular place for more than 3 days or something like that. Why? Because they fear that if they stay at a particular place for a long time, they will start developing some kind of attachment. Okay, and this is very bad. Okay, and for Buddhism, because attachment will create desires, and desire is the cause of all sorrows, according to Gautama Buddha. Okay, so they will keep on traveling, and whenever they travel from one place to another, at that the destination, they will hold debates with the intellectual people at that area. Okay, and in these debates, mostly these debates took place in a building known as Kutagarashala. Okay, wherever these debates were conducted, was known as Kutagarashala. Basically, this is a hut with a pointed roof, or in grooves where traveling mendicants halted. Okay, sometimes this happened in viharas where these monks lived. Okay, chaityas were the prayer halls. Don't forget the difference between viharas and chaityas, very important. Okay, so if a philosopher succeeded in convincing one of his rivals, the followers of the latter must also become his disciple. So this is how the system worked at that time. Okay, one person who is in favor of one school of thought engages in a debate with another person who is having a different view. But if he wins, then he will have to give up his disciples, or he and his disciples will have to join the winner's ideology. Okay, Shankaracharya, for example, has defeated such many scholars from all over the country, and he acquired lots and lots of disciples during his travels in early India. Okay, so Mahavira and Buddha questioned the authority of Vedas, emphasized the individual agency. Men and women could strive to attain liberation from the trials and tribulations of worldly existence. So again, Buddhism and Jainism was actually a protest to Brahmanism. Okay, in Brahmanical order at that time, due to the Varna system, the lower two Varnas, especially Vaishyas and Shudras, especially Shudras, were looked down upon. Similarly, women were also not allowed to study Vedas, etc. Vaishyas could study Vedas. Don't confuse here. Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas could study Veda, and they are known as Dvijada because they can wear the sacred thread. But the last class, Shudras were not allowed to learn Vedas, so were the women. So people began to protest against this kind of discrimination, and Buddhism and Jainism are emerged as a result of this protest. Clear? So they questioned the authority of Vedas. They emphasized individual agency. What does this individual agency mean? Individual agency means nothing. They believed that with personal effort, a person can attain salvation. That's all. Okay, you do not have to be a Brahmana, you do not have to be a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or anything to attain salvation. You can do that by personal effort. You can be a man or a woman or a Shudra or an untouchable or whatever. Okay, so this is individual agency. Men and women could strive to attain liberation from trials and tribulations of worldly existence. Again, irrespective of the gender, everybody can achieve the salvation through individual agency. Okay, so this was in marked contrast to the Brahmanical position at that time. Clear? Brahmanas were actually the Brahmanical agency was actually against this concept. They were not ready to become that much liberal during this time period. Okay. Now, beyond worldly pleasures, the message of Mahavira. So now we are going to look into Jainism first and then go to Buddhism. So regarding Jainism, basic philosophy of Jainas was already in existence in the North India before the birth of Mahavira. Very important. Okay, you can. Many people think that Mahavira is the founder of Jainism, etc., etc. This is wrong. Okay, I mean, if in smaller classes, if you have went to some quiz competitions or something, you might get a score if you answer it as Mahavira. Okay, but it is not Mahavira who founded Jainism. It is Rishabha. That I think you all know. You are all UPSC aspirants, so you know this already. So the idea of Jainism or the basic philosophy of Jainism was in existence even before the birth of Vardhamana. Okay, Vardhamana Mahavira is actually the 24th Tirthangara. So there was 23 before him. Okay, so just go through their names. Okay, if you have not already studied them, please go through their name. Sorry, 1 second. I lost my pen here. 1 second. Okay, so Mahavira was actually the 24th Tirthangara, which means there were 23 people before him, and all of them had their own teachings, their own messages, etc., etc. So for UPSC, as UPSC aspirants, you should definitely know about 3 of them, including Mahavira. One is Rishabha, the first Tirthangara, then the 23rd Tirthangara, Parshvanatha, and 24th Mahavira. So make sure you study about these 3 people at least, minimum. Okay, so according to the Jainist philosophies, entire world is animated. Okay, everything has life. Everything is animated. Even the stones, rocks, water have life. Okay, I mean, they believe that the non-living things, the things that we call non-living, they are actually sleeping. Okay, I mean, they are some kind of deep sleep or something like that. Okay, I mean, they are alive and they are very much animated, but we consider them not alive because of the lack of movement or lack of life as we see it. Okay, but according to Jainism, everything has animated. No injury to living beings, especially to humans, animals, plants and insects. So the principle of ahimsa is also something that is very close to the concept of Jainism. Okay, I think you know about the Triratnas of Jainism. Okay, I hope you know about this. Similarly, there are 5 vows in Jainism. Abstain from killing, that is non-violence. Abstain from stealing, aparigraha. Okay, abstain from lying, satya. To observe celibacy, brahmacharya. To abstain from possessing others' property. So these 5 vows are very much the essence of Jainism. Out of these 5 vows, one of them was contributed by Mahavira. Okay, other 4 already existed. Can anybody tell me which is the contribution of Mahavira? Out of these 5, okay, abstain from killing, abstain from stealing, abstain from lying, observe celibacy, and to abstain from possessing property. So among these 5, one is the contribution of Mahavira. Which one is it? Can anybody tell me? Any idea? No? Okay. Correct answer is to observe celibacy. Okay? Brahmacharya. Alright. Brahmacharya is actually the fifth element added by Mahavira. The other four was already there before his time. Clear? Also, and this is something very important, compared to Buddhism, Jainism had initially very much less followers because asceticism and penance are required to free oneself from this cycle of karma. And Jainas actually took this in a very strict manner. Okay, I mean, for example, they believed in the concept of dying by starvation to achieve salvation. Okay, so these kinds of very much extreme practices, for example, not wearing clothes. Okay, the Digambara Jains and all. Okay, so these kinds of extreme practices was one of the reasons why Jainism did not earn as much followers as Buddhism. Okay, Buddhism was kind of liberal towards all these things, and because of that, it had huge following around the first millennium BC. Okay. Also, Jainism believed in the concept that cycle of birth and rebirth is shaped through karma. So one's actions can actually have an influence in the cycle of birth and rebirth. Okay, so karma phala theory, for example, is also associated with Jainism. Buddhism also, but Jainism also believed in the same. Now, the spread of Jainism. Jainism actually, began, and just like Buddhism, Jainism also began very, humbly, but eventually they grew into a large religion. Okay, it spread to almost all the parts of India. Why? One of the most important reasons Jainism grew that much, apart from its protest to Brahmanism, is the fact that Jainist teachings, Jainist textbooks were predominantly in vernacular languages, written in Prakrit, Sanskrit and Tamil. Sanskrit is, high funda language, not understood by common man. It is, it is one of the reasons why Brahmanical textbooks are very much looked down upon by many people at that time. Okay, because it cannot be understood by common man. It is only for the educated. So here Prakrit and Tamil, these are common man's languages at that time. Okay, so most of the Jainist literature are written in Prakrit and Tamil. Okay, also Artha Magathi. Have you heard about this term? Artha Magathi. This is one of the predominant languages used by Jainism in their textbooks. Okay, Artha Magathi is nothing. Magadha was the very famous center of Jainism, and this language developed around that region. Okay, known as Artha Magathi. This is actually a variant of Prakrit language. Okay, and most of the Jainist literature are written in this language. Don't forget, can come for UPSC. Artha Magathi. This is not given in your 12th standard textbook, but we will study about this when we look into R.S. Sharma textbook or something like that. Okay, so most of the Jainist works that we right now has is actually, brought to us through preserving in temples. Okay, I mean, because most of these works were written as manuscripts on, palm leaves or, barches, etc., the barks of various trees, etc., etc. Most of them were, lost. Organic material, so they disintegrated over time. But some of the manuscripts are still very much preserved, and we have this because it is preserved through temples. Okay, I mean, for example, temple in ancient India was actually the focus of that particular city. I have already talked to you about this. Okay, because a main temple at a place, for example, right now, consider the Mathura Meenakshi temple. Okay, that is a focal area of that area of Madurai. Why? Because every activity, economic activity and the society, everything revolves around that temple. So temple is very much the nucleus of that society. So temples at ancient times had multiple purposes. It was not just a place of worship. It was also a place of economic activity. It is also a place of social interaction or intermingling. It was also a place of education. Okay, so they had these libraries, etc., associated with them in the temples itself. Okay, so most of these Jainist works has been passed to future generations by preserving in the temple libraries. Fine. Earliest stone sculptures associated with religious traditions were produced by devotees of Jaina Tirthankaras. Okay, so earliest sculptures are also attributed to Jainism. Clear? So because of all these things, Jainism actually spread to a lot of other areas. Now coming to Buddha. Buddhism is also very much similar to Jainism in many ways, but different in certain small ways. Both Buddha and Mahavira were born in, very influential ruling class families. Both of them, went out of their homes at some point of time, and they attained enlightenment at some other time. Okay, they acquired followers and then they propagated this religion. Okay, so the lifeline of these two religions are very much the same. Some small difference in their philosophies. Okay, so just like Jainism spread across India, Buddhism also spread very fastly throughout the Indian subcontinent. Not only in India, Buddhism also spread towards Central Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia. So the entire South Asian and Southeast Asian region were influenced by Buddhism. Okay, we have a lot of information about Buddhism via Buddhist textbooks. Digavamsha. Okay, I hope you have heard about this textbook, Digavamsha, then Milinda Panu. Okay, so these kinds of textbooks. Then the Tripitakas, Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka. Okay, so these are the literary works of Buddhism through which we can study a lot about the Buddhist ideologies, philosophies, etc. Also, we look, we actually look into various hagiographies. What is hagiographies? Hagiographies are actually the life or study about the life of various saints. Okay, there are various bodhisattvas in Buddhism, right? So study about their lives is known as hagiography. So hagiographies came very late only. Okay, after Buddha's death, about 100 years later, some of the prominent people at that time, prominent saints at that time, they wrote about Buddha in their autobiography or their works or whatever, and using these hagiographies we can study a lot about Buddhism. So Siddhartha or Gautama Buddha was the son of the chief of Sakya clan. This is something you already know. Deeply anguished when he saw the old man sick and the corpse and homeless mendicant. I hope you know this story, right? How did Gautama Buddha abandon his palace and came out to the real world? Okay, I mean until a particular age, Gautama Buddha was not even allowed to go outside the palace. Okay, I mean his life was within the palace with all kinds of luxuries and etc. etc. But one fine day, he actually persuaded his charioteer to get him out of the palace and go to some market or local area to mingle with common man. And in his way, he saw this old man, sick man, a corpse, a homeless man. Okay, all these sights actually made him very much miserable. And this is when he actually started questioning a lot of things, and he wanted to, get a life which is different from what he had until then. Okay, and then he abandons his palace, abandons his crown, etc., etc., and then he goes into the process of enlightenment after a long time of meditation. Okay, you know the story about this, I think. So he left the palace and set out to search his own truth. He abandoned extreme methods. This is one area where Buddhism goes contradictory to Jainism. Jainism is full of extreme methods. Buddhism abandoned the extreme methods, which means it is not too much materialistic. Also, it is not too much ascetic. It is something between that. Madhyama pada. Okay, Madhyama pada. I think have heard about this Madhyama pada. Okay, so that is one of the basic tenets of Buddhism. So he meditated for several days and finally attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Okay, you know about that temple and all, right? Mahabodhi temple in Bihar. So that's a very famous site where Buddha achieved enlightenment. Ashoka actually came. It was Emperor Ashoka who built the main shrine of the Mahabodhi temple. Later it was modified by future kings of various dynasties, but its main shrine was built by King Ashoka. Okay. So the teachings of Buddha. So we know how Buddhism developed or how Buddhism emerged right now. Now we are going to see what are the teachings of Buddha. Okay, we saw about the teachings of Mahavira earlier. Now let's see about Buddha. So first question is, from where do we get the idea of what Buddha taught? I mean, Buddha lived about 3000 years ago, right? I mean 2000 years ago, something like that. How do we know about him? Very simple answer. We have a lot of literary works. Okay, we have reconstructed the stories mainly found in Sutta Pitaka. Okay, Sutta Pitaka is the oldest of the three Pitakas. Sutta Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. These are the three textbooks. Sutta Pitaka is regarding the teachings of Buddha. Vinaya Pitaka is regarding the rules and regulations that are to be followed by the monks, and Abhidhamma Pitaka is regarding the philosophy of Buddhism. Very important for your prelims. You have to know the contents of each of these books. Okay, again let me write this down. Good evening, Ramkumar. Let me write this down. Sutta Pitaka is regarding the teachings of Buddha. Okay, and stories, teachings and stories. Clear? Then we have Vinaya Pitaka regarding the rules and regulations of Buddhist monks. Okay, rules for monks. And finally we have the Abhidhamma Pitaka. Okay, Abhidhamma Pitaka deals with the philosophical part. Okay, so these are the contents of these three textbooks. I hope you can either write this down or take it in your memory. Okay, don't forget. So also, just like Jainism, Buddhism actually converse with people in local language. Okay, they did not use high funda Sanskrit language or anything. They used a language known as Pali. Pali language was the language of common man at that time, just like Prakrit, and Buddhism used Pali in order to converse with people. Okay, so in Sutta Pitaka, we come across many stories. Some are actually miraculous, Buddha having miraculous powers. Some are, portraying him as a normal human being. Okay, I mean, for example, in Buddhism, we come across stories where Buddha has done many magical things. Okay, and then we come across stories where Buddha actually behaved like a very common man. You have heard about this story, right? When a mother actually brings her son's corpse to Buddha and asks Buddha to give him life. Okay, I mean, arise him from the dead. Buddha do not do that. Instead, Buddha tells about the inevitability of death. Okay, I mean, that is a philosophical part. So Sutta Pitaka and almost all these Buddhist textbooks contain both parts. Some miraculous parts, something about mysticism, at the same time a lot about reasoning and philosophy also. Okay, so from all these sources we get an idea of Buddhism in totality. Clear? So according to Buddhist philosophy, the world is transient, which means it keeps on changing. There is no constant anywhere in this world. Everything is constantly on motion. It is constantly changing. It is also soulless. Okay, Buddhism did not believe in soul. That is what you have to take away from this. It is also soulless, and there is nothing permanent or eternal in it. Okay, everything in the world is temporary. It comes and it goes. There is nothing permanent. It will keep on changing. The world is a transient and it is soulless. Clear? Sorrow is intrinsic to human existence. This is something that Buddha teaches us. It doesn't matter what you do. Sorrow is actually a part of human life, human existence. The only way to get out of this dukkha or sorrow is to have no desires. Okay, so this is the teaching of Buddhism. It is by following the path of moderation between severe penance and self-indulgence that human beings can rise above the worldly troubles. You do not have to be in either of the extremes. You do not have to do extreme penance. You do not have to live a life of luxury. You can do all these things by following a middle path. That is the Madhyam Pada. So following this path, you can achieve salvation. That is what Buddha teaches us. So whether or not God exists was irrelevant. Very important. Don't forget. Okay, this statement here is very, very, very important. In your prelims paper, you may see a statement that Buddhism believed in God, believed in the existence of God, or Buddhism did not believe in the existence of God. Both these statements are wrong. The correct statement is Buddhism did not care about the existence of God. Okay, whether God existed or God did not exist, Buddhism did not associate itself with that question. Clear? I hope that is very much clear. You can expect such questions in your prelims. Okay, social world as the creation of humans rather than a divine origin. So they believed that the society or the world that we see is actually a creation of human beings. We created the world that is around us. It is not created by a divinity or something that is not unknown, not known to us. Clear? It emphasized on individual agency. Just like Jainism, Buddhism also told that by personal effort, by righteous action, you can achieve salvation. You can escape from the cycle of rebirth. Okay, you do not have to, or you need not have the help from someone else. By your own self-effort, salvation is achievable. Okay, followers of Buddha. So followers of Buddha are usually found in a group known as Sangha. You might have heard about this. Buddhist Sanghas are there, Jainist Sanghas are there. Okay, Sangha means basically a group of people who have abandoned their home and have joined Buddhism. Clear? So it is an organization of monks who too have become teachers of Dhamma. Okay, Buddha's teachings has been spread all over the Southeast Asian region by his followers, by his students. Okay, so this group of people is together known as Sangha. They actually lived a life of simplicity. They did not, get close to any of the materialistic pleasures, and they actually, in order to attain food and all essentials, they actually begged. Okay, they lived the life of a beggar. Okay, and for this reason, they were known as bhikshus. Males were known as bhikshus and females were known as bhikshukinis. Okay, because of their simple way of life. That is the reason why they are known as bhikshu and bhikshukini. But understand that initially Gautama Buddha did not let women to enter Buddhism. Okay, Buddhism actually was closed to women at the beginning. But later on, Gautama Buddha allowed entry of women, especially due to the persuasion by one of his favorite disciples, Ananda. Okay, due to the mediation by Ananda, Buddha eventually allowed women to enter Buddhism or join Buddhist Sangha. Fine. And the first person to become a bhikshukini is Mahaprajapati Gautami. Okay, Mahaprajapati Gautami is Buddha's foster mother. Okay, and she was the first woman to be ordained as a bhikshukini or to enter the Buddhist Sangha. Clear? Also, very important thing here to understand is the followers of Buddhism was not just from the Shudras and Vaishyas. Okay, Buddhism was extremely popular even among the top classes. For example, Brahmanas. I mean, not many Brahmanas. From Brahmanas, only a very few people actually came to Buddhism. Predominantly Kshatriyas, kings, wealthy men, Gahapatis, then humbler folks such as workers, slaves, craft people, all were regarded as equal in Buddhism. Okay, they can be anything outside the Buddhist Sangha. But once you join the Buddhist Sangha, everyone is equal. This is how the Buddhist Sanghas worked. Clear? Everybody was considered as equal. Doesn't matter if you are a king or you are a slave. For slaves to enter Buddhist Sangha, there was some exceptions and restrictions. We will study about that later. But once you are in the Sangha, you are equal to everyone else. Clear? Also, Buddhist Sangha was extremely democratic in nature. Clear? All the decisions were actually taken by consensus, which was arrived through discussions. Whatever the queries are, they discussed it among the Sangha, and based on consensus, some decision is taken. And if consensus is not possible, then a vote on the subject is made, and the majority takes a decision. Clear? So Buddhist Sangha was a democratic organization. Very important. These kinds of statements will come in prelims. At that time, you have to remember this. Clear? Now let's look at stupas. Okay? As I have explained at the beginning itself, not everything is preserved in textbooks or literary sources. We cannot find too many literary sources because most of them were recorded in organic materials which do not last for a very long time. Okay? So not all ideas and practices were preserved in textbooks. Okay? People tended to regard certain places as sacred. For example, if Buddha visits a place, for example, Buddha visited Sarnath, he delivered his first sermon in Sarnath. So people began to consider Sarnath as a very sacred place. Similarly, Lumbini, this is the birthplace of Buddha. Okay, so people began to consider that area as sacred. Similarly, the enlightenment, the Mahabodhi temple, initially the Mahabodhi tree was in that area. And then later on, the Mahabodhi temple was constructed there because people believed that It is the area where Buddha attained enlightenment. So it is a sacred place. Okay, so in these sacred places, people began to construct a lot of architectural marvels. Temples, stupas, pillars, inscriptions, etc. etc. Okay, special trees or unique rocks or sites of awe-inspiring natural beauty, chaityas, all began to be looked into with some kind of sacredness. Clear? So describes the place associated with Buddha's life, where he was born, such as Lumbini, attained enlightenment, such as Bodh Gaya, where he gave his first sermon, Saranath, attained Nibbana, Kushinara. Okay, these are the four. I hope you know about all these 4 places. Otherwise, just by heart this, very important. Okay, Lumbini, Bodh Gaya, Sarnath and Kushinara. So, once Buddha goes to that place and do something very much important, that place automatically earns some kind of sacredness according to the people's beliefs at that time. Okay, and because of this, people constructed some kind of architectural structure there, stupas or temples or whatever. Okay, so here is another image from your NCERT textbook, and please go through this image in depth. Especially if you are a history optional person, look into this image in very much depth, because you should be able to mark almost all the things that are shown here. Okay, Amaravati, very important. Nagarjuna Konda, again important. Ajanta, Sanchi, okay, Saranath, Barabar, Bodh Gaya, Kushinara, Lumbini, Ashravasti, all these are important places regarding Buddhism. So please make sure that you are able to map this on a scale map. Okay, moving on. Why were stupas built? Okay, I told you people considered it as a very sacred place, and so they built it. Okay, I mean, stupa is not actually about the construction that happened at that area. Okay, stupa is not just bricks and sand. Okay, within every stupa there is some kind of a relic of Buddha. Okay, relics of Buddha, such as his bodily remains or objects used by him, were buried in the stupas. Clear? For example, the nail of Buddha or maybe a hair strand of Buddha. This might be his bodily part, and this is buried somewhere, and the stupa is constructed over that. This is how it works. The system works. Clear? So the tradition of erecting stupas actually have been pre-Buddhists. Stupa is not something from the time of Buddha. Okay, it is the idea of stupa is even before that. But Buddhism used stupas very much, too much. Okay, that most of the stupas that we know about are regarding Buddhism. Okay, most of the Buddhist architectures were in the lines of stupas. So the entire stupa came to be venerated as an emblem of both Buddha and Buddhism. Clear? So in the very famous textbook known as Ashokavadana, Ashoka distributed portions of Buddha's relics to every important town and ordered construction of stupas over. Okay, Ashoka, a contemporary of Buddha, he actually distributed portions of Buddha's relics. What are relics? Relics will include Buddha's bodily parts as well as things or substances used by Buddha. Maybe a plate or a cup or something like that. So this was distributed to various places that are important at that time, and people were, or the local kings were asked to construct a stupa over this relic. Clear? So this is how we see the emergence of stupas in various parts of India. How were stupas built? Okay, stupa, I mean, construction of something like this has to mean something, right? It cannot be just a building for its sake. Okay, so inscriptions found on the railings and pillars of stupas record donations made for the building and decorating them. Okay, I already told you, earlier I showed you the image of the Sanchi stupa. In that you saw, in the Torana, in the Vedika, etc., there are many inscriptions. Okay, most of these inscriptions actually point towards the people who have contributed or donated for the purpose of building this structure. Clear? This will include their name, their job. Okay, basically name and occupation are written as inscriptions. Clear? Not just common man, also kings such as the Satavahanas, the guilds. Guilds means Shreni, okay, so which means what? A group of people who is associated with a particular job, that is known as a guild. For example, traders. Traders move as a caravan together from one place to another. So it is known as a traders guild or a Shreni. Clear? So such guilds also contributed a lot for constructing such stupas. Best example is the ivory works of Sanchi. In the Sanchi stupa, there is very beautiful ivory work. Okay, and this was actually a contribution by the trade guilds at that time. Clear? So along with these influential people, both bhikshus and bhikshukinis also contributed towards the construction of such monuments. So it was a combined effort. It is not constructed by a single emperor or a king or anything. It was constructed together by the followers of Buddhism. Clear? So the structure of stupa. I already explained this at the beginning of this session. So this is basically repetition. I hope just try to recollect those names. Okay. So the stupa originated as a simple semicircular mold of earth, later called anda. So this was the basic element of stupa, the anda. Okay, let me draw here. Okay, I will draw it here. So you can have this anda. Okay, so this is the basic part of a stupa. Okay, above the anda was the harmika, a balcony-like structure that represents the abode of gods. Okay, so what does harmika represent? It represents the abode of gods. So here you can see the harmika. Okay, I am drawing the harmika over the anda. Clear? So this is the harmika. Arising from the harmika was a mast known as yashti or chhatra or whatever. Okay, and surmounted by a chhatri. So here you can see a mast. Okay, so this mast is known as yashti. Clear? And on top of this mast is actually an umbrella-like structure. Okay, and this structure is known as Chhatri. Chhatri is actually literally means umbrella. Okay, it is easy to remember. So this is the basic part of a stupa. Later on, we see the addition of some other parts. For example, Pradakshina Pada. Okay, Pradakshina Pada. For example, the Sanchi stupa has two Pradakshina Padas. One at the upper layer also. Okay, what is Pradakshina Pada? Pradakshina Pada essentially means circumambulatory path, which means the path circulated by the devotees of Buddhism. When they visit the relic or when they visit the stupa, they can go around the stupa as a ritual or as a practice. Hindus has this, right, known as Pradakshina around the temple. So same thing. So Pradakshina Pada is added later, and then we see Vedika, which is the outer wall of the stupa. Okay, we have the Vedika, and finally we have the Torana. Torana is the gateway. There are 4 Toranas in Sanchi stupa facing different 4 directions. So basically Torana means gateway. Clear? So these are the important parts of a stupa. So early stupas at Sanchi and Bharuch were plain except for the stone railings, which were richly carved and installed at 4 cardinal points. Okay, initially, earlier period, most of these stupas were actually very much plain. Not too much inscriptions or carvings or anything. Okay, so not much information can be got from there apart from regarding construction or anything. But later stupas have a lot of carvings, a lot of inscriptions. Okay, so by understanding these inscriptions, we can learn a lot about the society, learn a lot about religion, practices, etc. etc. Also, we have inscriptions or sculptures regarding Jataka tales in these architectural marvels. Okay, so Jataka tales are inscribed into that. So the message of Buddhism, the life of Bodhisattvas are all shown via these sculptures. Okay, so later the mold of the stupas came to be elaborately carved with niches and sculptures at Amaravati and Shajiki Dheri in Peshwa. These are the examples of very famously carved stupas. Okay. So here is a plan and elevation of a stupa. So this is the plan, which means top view, and elevation, which means the side view. Okay, you can see everything that I have just mentioned. You can see the harmika, you can see the chhatri, you can see the yashti, you can see Pradakshina. This is the upper Pradakshina Pada, okay? This is the upper Pradakshina Pada, and you can, lower Pradakshina Pada is in the ground level itself. Okay, then you can see the Vedika, you can see the Toranas. Clear? All these are given in your NCERT textbook. If you have any more doubts or anything, you can just read that particular portion. Okay, you will understand that. Moving on. Discovering stupas, the fate of Amaravati and Sanchi. So we are looking at 2 important stupas a bit closely, especially Amaravati and Sanchi. So you can see a Torana here. As I have mentioned, look at how beautifully it is curved. Let me just try to bring this a bit closer to you so that you can see it better. Okay, look at this. It is very beautifully carved, right? You can see the images of animals, and some designs, geometric patterns, etc., right? So such beautiful carvings are seen in the entrance or the Toranas especially. Okay, so in 1796, a local Raja who wanted to build a temple stumbled upon the ruins of Stupa at Amaravati. This is how Amaravati Stupa was discovered. Okay, in Amaravati, the local king was actually trying to build a new temple. Alright, and for that purpose, he started, digging a particular place, and then suddenly he stumbled upon this Stupa. And later we came to know more about this Stupa due to the studies conducted there by Colin Mackenzie, who visited this site. So the British historian or archaeologist Colin Mackenzie visited Sanchi Stupa, and his thesis and his studies there helps us to understand a lot more about the Amaravati Stupa. Okay, not Sanchi, Amaravati, sorry. So in 1854, later, a person known as Walter Elliot visited the Amaravati and collected several sculpture panels and took them away to Madras. Madras was one of the prominent presidencies of Britain. Okay, you know that, right? British had 3 presidencies: Bombay, Madras and Bengal. Okay, so Madras was one of the prominent seats of power. So he took everything from the original site towards Madras, where he kept it in the museum, British History Museum. And from there, a lot of things has been taken back to England also. Clear? So these plates or panels taken by Walter Elliot to Madras eventually came to be known as the Elliot marbles. Okay, so Elliot marbles gives a lot of information regarding Amaravati Stupa. This is a prelims question. Clear? Elliot marbles deals with Amaravati Stupa. So discovered the remains of Western Gateway. So his studies there actually helped in discovering the Western Gateway. I mean, a lot of area of this stupa is already collapsed. Okay, so his studies actually helped in forming some sense from the damaged parts of the stupa. Okay, one second, guys. Okay, only a bit more slides to go, and we will probably by 5:15 we will end this and we will start the quiz. Okay, please do join. Be ready for the quiz at 5:15. Stories in stones. Alright, so you have seen this, right? I mean, many people often understand about the past through the storytellers. Okay, initially, before writing or before inscriptions were made, people used to transmit knowledge through verbal methods or oral methods. Okay, no, there was no written records or anything like that. So verbal methods are there, visual methods are there. For example, paintings. You can see paintings in Pimbeka rock caves. Okay, that is from Upper Paleolithic age. So even at that ancient times, people used to communicate using non-literary sources. Okay, so while we study about ancient India, these are some of the important things that we have to look at. Sculptures, for example, at Sanchi, here you can see a scene from Vesantara Jataka. There are multiple Jataka tales. Okay, I mean, multiple Jatakas are there, and one of them is Vesantara Jataka. And the tales from Vesantara Jataka is inscribed or sculpted on Sanchi Stupa. Okay, so this is a story about a generous prince who gave away everything to Brahmanas and went to live in the forest with his wife and children. Okay, so this is a possible prelims question. You can give this story can be given, and you can be asked where this is actually inscribed. Options will be Saranath, Sanchi, Amaravati, etc., etc. Correct answer is Sanchi. Okay, these kinds of questions can come actually. This time in 2020 UPSC Prelims, there was a question on an Ashokan inscription. Okay, a passage from Ashokan inscription was copy pasted from your NCERT textbook into the UPSC question paper, and the question was whose inscription is this? Option was Ashoka, then Chandragupta, Kanishka, etc., etc. Okay, so actually the answer was Ashoka. It was easy to detect from the passage itself, so most of them got it right. So you can also expect some similar questions from your NCERT. So make sure to read your NCERTs thoroughly. Okay, along with my explanations, you also should read that textbook. Okay, this is not substitute or anything. This is just this will just give you some extra idea while you read that textbook. That's it. Clear? Symbols of worship. So Buddhism is actually opposed to idolatry. Okay, Buddha did not believe in worship of images. He was actually against worship of images. Clear? But According to the hagiographies, Buddha attained enlightenment while meditating under a tree. This we know. Many early sculptures did not show Buddha in human form. Instead, they showed him through various symbols. Okay, symbolic forms were used for denoting Buddha. Buddha was given human form only in the Mathura and Gandhara schools of art. Okay, the Buddha we see today, with the face, in the human form. It is actually a product of Gandhara and Mathura schools of art. Okay, until the emergence of these two schools of art, Buddha was shown using symbols only. For example, empty seat. Empty seat is actually a symbol for meditation of Buddha. Stupa. Stupa is a symbol of his Mahaparinibbana. What is Mahaparinibbana? Essentially, it means death. Okay, but we won't say, use the word death to people like Buddha and Jaina and all. No, we say they attained nirvana. Okay, so Mahaparinibbana, not just the Mahaparinibbana. Okay, so that is the stupa symbolizes Mahaparinibbana. The wheel actually represents the first sermon of Buddha, which was delivered at Sarnath. Clear? So we have this wheel in our national emblem also. If you have looked it, you might know it. Okay, so these are the symbolic diagrams or symbolic features that were used for representing Buddha until the emergence of Gandhara and Mathura schools of architecture. Okay, you can see this wheel here, very beautiful wheel showing, located in Sarnath, which is actually showing the first sermon of Buddha. You can see the stupa here, an image of stupa, and then you can see a image of Bodhi tree here. Okay, so all these are actually symbolic expressions of Buddhism, of Buddha. Okay, popular traditions. So while the archaeologists were looking into these stupas and all these things, they came across a lot of stories inscribed in the walls of the stupa. For example, Jataka tales and all. But they also came across a very peculiar figure. You can see this figure here. This is a very peculiar figure, right? I mean, this figure cannot be directly associated with Buddhism. Can it? I mean, Buddhism is against all kinds of desires and all these things, but this figure does not align itself with Buddhism, Buddhist concepts. Okay, so the archaeologists and the historians began to think, what could this figure be and what is it doing in a Buddhist architectural monument? Okay, so this figure is known as Shalabhanjika. Okay, Shalabhanjika is essentially a woman whose touch caused the trees to flower and bear fruit. Okay, Shalabhanjika is basically a woman who has these mystical powers, and her touch made the trees to flower and bear fruits. Okay, so Shalabhanjika is also a symbolic feature. So this is regarded as an auspicious symbol and integrated into the decoration of the stupa. Because of this symbolical aspect, this figure was inscribed in the stupa. Clear? Shalabhanjika is an auspicious symbol according to the ancient beliefs. So Shalabhanjika motifs suggest that many people who turned to Buddhism enriched it with their own pre-Buddhist and even non-Buddhist beliefs, practices, etc. etc. So here Shalabhanjika is actually enriching that tree, right? Her mere touch caused that tree to bear fruits. So similarly, people coming from different backgrounds who joined Buddhism helped in evolution of Buddhism, enriching Buddhism. Okay, so that is shown by the symbolic form of Shalabhanjika in the stupa. Clear? Also, in this stupa, we see a lot of animal decorations. Animal features are carved into these stupas. For example, elephants, horses, monkeys, cattle are all seen in this stupa. Okay, animals were often used as symbols of human attributes. For example, elephant is shown as a symbol of strength and wisdom. So if an elephant is carved, it is saying that there is something associated with strength and wisdom. Okay, I mean, elephant is a very strong animal. At the same time, we believe that elephant has, very big brain also. Okay, I mean, very intelligent animal. Okay, so for these purposes, animals were used. Women are surrounded by lotuses and elephants. For example, Maya, the mother of Buddha, Gajalakshmi. This is another very important or significant sculpture that is seen in these stupas. A woman surrounded by lotuses and elephants. Okay, where have we seen this picture before? We have seen this in the Mahalakshmi figures, right? Mahalakshmi figure, goddess Mahalakshmi, is sitting on a lotus, and there are 2 elephants on her sides showering with gold coins and all. Right? So you have seen that figure, right? So the same concept same sort of figure is shown here also. Some people believe that this is actually Maya. Okay, and another sect of people believe that this is the mother of Buddha. A third set believes that this is actually Gajalakshmi. This is what I just explained to you. Gajalakshmi is that figure of goddess Mahalakshmi sitting on a lotus with 2 elephants on her side showering gold. Okay, so these are various theories that are put forward by historians from the sculptures seen in the stupas. Okay, so James Ferguson considered Sanchi to be the center of tree and serpent worship. Ferguson actually not that much thorough. He did not know the background stories regarding Buddhism or regarding India as such. So this is not a very thorough study of Buddhism. But anyway, as far as history students, as far as UPSC aspirants are concerned, we just have to know that James Ferguson, a very famous British archaeologist, he considered Sanchi to be a center of tree and serpent worship. There were some tree shapes as well as some serpent shapes in the Sanchi stupa, but that doesn't essentially mean it is a tree and serpent worship place, does it? There is some background stories or Jataka tales associated with it, which James Ferguson did not know about. Okay, moving on. Development of Mahayana Buddhism. Okay, we are almost at the end of this session. A very few more slides to go and we are done. Okay, so the development of Mahayana Buddhism. So in the 1st century CE, changes in Buddhism and ideas of practices started to emerge. Once again, we may not be able to finish the. We may not be able to start the quiz at 5:15. It is already 5:13. So let me just tell you that we will start at 5:30. Okay, we will start the quiz at 5:30. Let me just put that to the people who have joined already. Okay, if you have not joined the quiz, please do join. I will share the code live. It is already in my Telegram channel. One second, guys. Let me just put that there so that you may not have to wait for a long time. Okay, I will share the code right after the session. Okay, only a few more slides to go. We will start at 5:30. So, okay. Development of Mahayana Buddhism. So, in the 1st century's Common Era, changes in Buddhist ideas and practices started to come up. A lot of changes. Okay, for example, early Buddhist teachings were actually replaced by some new ideologies. Say Buddha was actually, I think I have already told you, Buddhism was actually opposed to idolatry. Buddha did not believe in image worship and all. Okay, but later on, we see that Buddhism itself started doing the image worship. Okay, their lifestyle actually changed. Instead of maintaining themselves away from the worldly pleasures, the Buddhist monks started to engage with worldly pleasures, etc., etc. Okay, we see a lot of changes in Buddhism around this time. So early Buddhist teachings concentrated on the importance of self-effort in achieving Nibbana. Already I explained this. Buddha was regarded as a human being. He was not regarded as a god. Okay, he was not considered as a god. He was considered as a human being who is enlightened. That's it. But eventually, situation began to change. So the idea of a savior emerged. People began to make Buddha a god. Okay, this often happens. Once this ideology starts, holding ground, even people will start to change their beliefs of that person. For example, in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, the original Valmiki Ramayana, Sri Rama is actually presented as a human. Okay, Sri Rama is actually the human avatar of Lord Vishnu. That is how it is presented, as a human being, not as a god or anything, without any magical powers or everything. But later we see that Sri Rama is actually considered as a god. Clear? I think you already know this. Original textbook of Ramayana, Sri Rama is a human being, but now we see him as a god. So these kinds of changes will happen over time. So here also in Buddhism, Buddha began to be looked upon as a god rather than a human being. Okay, so the concept of Bodhisattva also emerged around this time. So who is a Bodhisattva? This is another important prelims question. Who is a Bodhisattva? Bodhisattva are compassionate beings who accumulated merit through their efforts but use this not to attain Nibbana and thereby abandon the world but to help others. Okay, Bodhisattvas are those people who through their own efforts have attained what it takes to achieve Nibbana. But they did not attain Nibbana, but instead chose to stay in earth to help others achieve Nibbana. Clear? These are Bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas are not just followers of Buddhism or not Buddha's previous life or anything. Bodhisattvas are those people who have through their own self-effort achieved everything that is required to attain Nibbana, but they chose to stay back on earth in order to help other people attain the same. Okay, those people are known as Bodhisattvas. So, worship of Buddha and Bodhisattvas began around this time. Buddhism eventually split into two. One is known as the Mahayana school, other is known as the Hinayana school. Exact literal word meaning is Mahayana means great vehicle, Hinayana means lesser vehicle. Okay, Mahayana people gave the name Hinayana to the other part. Okay, I mean from Buddhism, Mahayana sect emerged at first. And the Mahayana people began to call the remaining people as Hinayana, as a lesser faction of Buddhism. We will study about these two factions in detail. It is very important. Okay, there is another factor known as Theravadins. You have heard about this? Theravadins. Some people say that Theravadins and Hinayana sect are one and the same, but actually Theravadins are old school Buddhism. Okay, they believed in the original teachings of Buddha and they considered themselves the real Buddhists. Okay, these other two, Mahayana and Hinayana, are considered as offshoots of Theravadins by the believers of Theravadin philosophy. Okay, we will study. Don't worry if you don't understand that. Doesn't matter. I will take up Buddhism in detail in a future class. At that time, I will explain all these things. Okay, the growth of Puranic Hinduism. So, while Buddhism, Jainism, etc. were happening in most of the parts of the world, we also see some Puranic Hinduism rising up here and there through the two ideologies, Vaishnavism and Shaivism. Vaishnavism emphasizing on the worship of Lord Vishnu and Shaivism that of Lord Shiva. Okay, so here we see emergence of personal deities. Okay, a particular chosen deity is actually worshipped. Clear? So the bond between the devotee and the god was visualized as one of love, devotion and bhakti. The concept of bhakti emerged around this period, bhakti movement. Okay, we see another bhakti movement very later, but I am talking about the original one at ancient India. Okay, not the Kabir Das, Surdas that time. Okay, this is considering the earlier period, the Vaishnavism and Shaivism. So here the relation between God and human being is not like a servant and master, not like how the Brahmanas visualize this relationship. Okay, it is actually as a devotee, as a visualized as one of love, devotion and bhakti. Shiva was symbolized by Linga. Vishnu was symbolized by his 10 incarnations. Okay, there were multiple methods by which both these deities were actually put in front of the people. Vishnu through his 10 avataras and Shiva through sometimes in human form, sometimes in the Linga form. Okay, all such representations depicted a complex set of ideas about the deities and their attributes through symbols of headdresses, ornaments, ayudhas, etc. and how they are seated. Okay, so Shiva, if you have seen an image of Shiva, Shiva is often seen with lots of symbols. Correct. He has this jada on his head. Then the Ganges is flowing out of the jada. Then he had the bhasma, the 3 lines of bhasma. Then the skull necklace. Correct. So also he sits in a posture where one leg is in the Padmasana and the other leg is actually touching the ground. Clear. He has the Trishula in his hand. The snake adorning his neck. Okay, so these are symbolic features that is very much related to Lord Shiva, the third eye, etc. Vishnu, on the other hand, has another such features. For example, he is in the Ananda Shayana posture, lying down on a serpent. Okay, then he has 4 arms, each arm having different kinds of weapons and a lotus. The chakra, the Sudarshana chakra. Okay, so these are the attributes of Vishnu. So predominantly, all these representations has some philosophical meaning behind it. Okay, the people who studied these images at that time, or the modern historians who studied this iconography, actually started to look deep into the concepts and stories behind these symbols. Okay, Puranas compiled by Brahmanas, probably in the middle to first millennium CE, written in simple Sanskrit words and were meant to be written aloud by everybody, including women and Shudras who did not have access to Vedic learnings. Earlier I told you, Vedic learning was confined to the Dvijatas. And Dvijatas are those people who are allowed to wear the sacred thread and study Vedas, which includes Brahmana, Kshatriya and Vaishya. Shudras were not allowed to do it, and women also were prohibited from studying Vedas. So Puranas were actually written by Brahmanas in simple Sanskrit verses. Okay, Veda is also written in Sanskrit, Purana is also written in Sanskrit. Veda is high funda Sanskrit. Nobody understands it. I have read it, okay, I have read, small portion of it. And I did not understand a single thing in the Veda textbook. But in the Purana textbook, it is very much easier to understand. It is simple common man's Sanskrit. Okay, anybody who is having some kind of base in Sanskrit can understand Puranas. Okay, so it is meant for common man. That is the takeaway from this particular statement. Puranas are written and they are meant for common people. But that does not mean they are written in common languages. Don't confuse here. They are written for common people did not mean they are written in Prakrit or Pali or anything. It is written in Sanskrit only, but it is just that it is simple Sanskrit. Clear? So this is written for everyone, also including women and Shudras. Okay, so you can see a very famous the Varaha figure here. Okay, Varaha, one of the incarnations of Lord Vishnu, is shown as emerging from beneath the sea with Mother Goddess Earth, saving Mother Goddess Earth. Okay, so here is another image of Durga in Mahabalipuram, another example. Now building temples. We are almost at the end of this session. Building temples. So around this time that the stupas at sites such as Sanchi were acquired in present form, the first temples to house images of gods and goddesses were also being built. Okay, so temple building is something relatively new considering stupas. Stupas existed even before Buddhist times. Temples began to be built only on a later phase. Okay, so the early temple was a small square room known as Garbhagriha with a single doorway. That's it. Very small shrine, Garbhagriha. You can see this in South Indian temples especially. Why? Because the oldest part of that temple is always the smallest part. Okay, in North Indian temples, for example, in North India, over the Garbhagriha, you have the Shikhara. Right, and the Shikhara, the tallest Shikhara will be on top of the Garbhagriha if there are multiple Shikharas. In South Indian temples, it's the other way around. The main shrine will have the smallest Vimana. Why? Because this was built a long time ago. Everything else was built on a later phase. So the new additions began to become more elaborate, more intrinsic, more beautifully carved, etc. etc. Okay, so earlier temples were just a small square room with Garbhagriha and a single doorway. Gradually, Shikhara was built over the central shrine. Walls were often decorated with sculpture, etc. etc. Some of these were hollowed out of huge rocks as artificial caves. Okay, for example, Ashoka's contribution to the Ajivika sect known as the Barabar caves. Have you heard about this? Barabar caves? Lomas Rishi, Barabar. I think you might have heard about this if you have attended my last week's sessions. Okay, so Ashoka contributed this Barabar caves to Ajivika sect. Ashoka was an Ajivika throughout his life until the end when he took upon Buddhism. Okay, so Barabar caves, for example, is actually carved out of a single cave. Similarly, Kailashnath temple, Ellora. Okay, within Ellora, it is a single monolithic temple that is constructed in the cave. Okay, it's a cave temple. Okay, so some temples were actually cave temples, some were actually rock cut, some were structural temples. You have to understand the difference between all these things. If you do not know the difference, just go back and watch my classes in last week where I have taken 11th standard NCERT art and culture. There I have explained all these things. Okay, you can see an image here. This is the Deogar Vishnu temple in Uttar Pradesh, and here you can see the Kailashnath temple at Ellora. All these images are from your NCERT textbook, so you can look into that as well. Okay. So grappling with the unfamiliar. Okay, so how do we understand what it is if we do not know about it? Okay, I mean, we are for the first time historians came across something, a new figure. Okay, how can they know what that figure is? Okay, so how do, I mean, for example, Varaha. Okay, Varaha figure, they came across Varaha for the, assume that you came across Varaha figure for the first time. and you do not know the backstory, how do you develop your knowledge regarding this particular figure? Okay, that is obviously a question, right? So scholars in ancient times tried to make sense of what appeared to be strange images by comparing them with the sculptures with which they were familiar. That from ancient Greece. So ancient Greece statues were extremely popular at that time. Historians already have studied a lot about it, and they knew a lot about it by the time we found out about stupas and other sculptures. Okay, so whenever we came across a new image or a new sculpture that we do not know about, the historians used the Greek figures as benchmarks, and they started comparing the Indian sculptures with the Greek sculptures. Clear? And that is how they, through comparison, they started to study it. So while they often found early Indian sculpture inferior to the works of Greek artists, they were very excited that when they discovered images of Buddha and Bodhisattvas were evidently based on Greek models. Okay, they considered the Indian images as actually inferior to the Greek ones. Okay, I mean, it is not inferior actually, it is in a different pattern, different style, okay, regional variations, etc, etc. But understand that later on, Buddha and Bodhisattva, especially in the Gandhara school, is pictured in a Greek model. Okay, due to the influence of the Bactrians and the Indo-Greeks in the northwestern part of India, we see the emergence of the Gandhara school of art. Okay, and here Buddha achieves some Greek features, Hellenistic features. Alright, so in effect, these scholars adopted a strategy we all frequently use, devising yardsticks derived from familiar benchmarks to make the unfamiliar familiar. Okay, so they, based on these comparisons, by comparing the unknown with the known, the historians started to find out a lot about the unknown. Okay, that is how we studied, the historians actually studied about these unknown figures. Okay, so if text and images do not match, then what will do? Art historians often draw upon textual traditions to understand the meaning of sculptures. Okay, whenever a sculpture is made, if you do not know the backstory, they will often put a lot of focus onto the literary work associated with it. For example, Vishnu has 10 avatars. If we just see the avatars, we do not know the backstory. So we have to see, read the Bhagavata or the Vishnu Purana to understand what is it. Okay, what is the story behind Narasimha? What is the story behind Varaha, etc, etc. So they counted on the literary sources a lot to understand the modern sculptures. Mahabalipuram, another beautiful example. Here we can see a figure. Okay, a figure that is actually interpreted in two ways. One group of people say that it is the descent of river Ganga from the heaven. Okay, Bhagirath actually making the river Ganga descend from heaven. Some other group of historians believe that this figure is actually Arjuna doing penance on the river bank to acquire the alms. Pashupadastra. Okay, Arjuna requesting the Pashupadastra from Lord Shiva. So the same figure is interpreted in two ways. One as Arjuna's penance and other as descendant of Ganges. Clear? So this is how we use the literary works to find out something about, or use the literary works to interpret the things that we do not know about. Clear? Many communities and people may not have felt the need for keeping lasting records, even as they may have read vibrant traditions of religious activities, philosophical ideas, etc. This is where things get tricky. So you can rely a lot on literature as long as that literature is available. Okay, but it is not necessary that everything was recorded in that ancient time, right? In the modern period, it's fine. We have internet where once we put something in there, it is there forever. Okay, but in those times, it is not necessary that people will actually put everything on record. So the lack of literary works actually prevents us from understanding a lot of things about history. We will have to solely bank on archaeological evidences, sculptures, paintings, etc, etc. Okay, so even if you have literary works, it is still confusing. Why? Because literary works are written by some person, so his views are what is written there. Okay, it is very much subjective. You cannot treat it as an objective material where everything is unbiased and all. Clear? I have talked about this in a previous session, so I am not going to go in detail with that. Okay, so this is the end of this chapter. So here we have looked into the architectural styles, the cultural evolutions for a period of 1200 years, all the way from 600 BC to 600 AD. Alright, so that is it. I hope you have understood whatever I have been discussing here. If you have any queries, feel free to ask me. You can ask me in the YouTube live chat, or you can personally message me in the Unacademy learning app. Okay, in the Unacademy learning app, there is a facility to chat with the educator. You can put your queries there. I will get back to you in 24 hours. Okay, so that is the end of this session. So now I am going to start the quiz. Okay, so everybody, I request all of you to download Unacademy learning app and enter this quiz code. I will start the quiz very soon. And let me just put the quiz code. 1 second. Give me a moment. The quiz code for today's quiz is 266270. Please download Unacademy learning app and put this quiz code there. Okay, Unacademy also offers you a lot of free stuffs. Okay, I want to just point you about this. Not everything is paid. There are lots and lots of free materials available in Unacademy. Please do take a look at it. You can use my link here, unacademy.com/@MSRW. You can see this link, right? This link. Put this link in your Unacademy. Put this link in your URL box, and you can watch a lot of videos of mine for free. Okay, these are my initial videos regarding education and all, and now recently I have completed the world history series of 20 lectures. You can go back and watch them. Everything is free, so please do take a look at that also. Okay, lots of free materials are available in Unacademy. Make the most out of it. Okay, so please join the quiz. This is the quiz code 266270. I will start the quiz in 2 minutes. At 5:35 we will start. Okay, let me just put everything aside that is not required. 2 people have so far joined. I request others to join as fast as possible. The steps to join the quiz is shown here. Okay, those learners who are watching via YouTube, kindly join this quiz via the Unacademy learning app. One second, some technical issues. Okay, there is due to some reason it's not loading. Yeah, it's loaded. Okay, so those who do not know how to participate in this quiz, all you have to do is download Unacademy learning app, and just after creating a free account, just create a right swipe, click this plus button shown by the first red arrow here. Once you click this, you will get this test tab shown by the second red arrow down here. Okay, click this test tab and click the join quiz button. Okay, and enter the quiz code 266270. I request all of you to join immediately. I will start the quiz in 1 minute. 2 people have so far joined, Vishnu and Swati. Those who have not done that, please do it immediately. Yes, 1 more has joined. I will start the quiz in 1 minute. 5:35 we begin. 50 questions on geography. We will have these kinds of quizzes. Okay, I mean, you need more and more practices with MCQs, otherwise you won't it won't be, I mean, just studying the theory. Some people believe that simply reading textbooks is all that is required. That is not the truth. Actually, you need lots of practices with MCQs, so do as many questions as possible. Okay, that is why I am putting these quizzes at the end of my sessions as much as possible. So I request you all to make the most out of it. So I am starting the quiz. It is 5:35. I am starting the quiz. Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we are live. First question is on the board, guys. Consider the following factors in relation to the factors affecting the intensity of solar radiation on the surface of Earth. Okay, 1. Rotation of the Earth on its axis. 2. Angle of inclination of sun's rays that reach the Earth's surface. 3. Length of days and the length of night. 4. Particulate matter present in the atmosphere. Which of the above factors affect or affects the intensity of solar insolation? Please understand that only the participants who join via the Unacademy learning app will get the detailed answers. Okay, the detailed answers, the explanation is given in the app itself. Okay, only those who participate can get that. I mean, I do not have any other way to give it to you. Okay, sorry regarding that. Okay, so only Swati has joined, answered that first question. Second question, consider the following statements with reference to conditions that are prevalent in northern hemisphere in the period around 21st June. 1. North pole is tilted towards the sun and south pole is tilted away from the sun. 2. The sun is vertically over the Tropic of Cancer. 3. The length of the day and night are equal throughout the globe. 4. It is known as summer solstice. Choose the correct answer. Very simple question, I guess. Second question. Yeah, correct answer. Oh, nobody got that. Okay, one more person has joined, Srisandhal Devi. Thank you for joining. Saubhagya is there. Third question, which of the following is or are branches of North Atlantic Drift? Okay, I hope you know about ocean currents and all. First one is Mgr current, second is Benguela current, and third is Canary current. Select the correct answer. Simple question. If you do not know about this, there is a picture of different currents in your G.C. Leong textbook. Okay, certificate of physical geography by G.C. Leong. In that textbook, you have this ocean currents picture. There, everything is very beautifully shown. You can see it. Hello, Seema. Welcome. Good evening. Okay, tonight, Seema, actually tonight we are starting the MCQ session. Okay, please join this quiz also. But we have another quiz session today evening at 8 p.m. just like we used to have before the prelims. That is in the Unacademy app, not in YouTube. So please look into my Telegram channel. I have put the details there. Okay, anyone who wish to join can simply participate using the Unacademy app. Be there at 8 p.m. and join my session there. Okay. Question 4. With reference to the general features of ocean bottom relief, which among the following statements is or are correct? Number 1. Continental slope connects the continental shelf and ocean basins. 2. Deep sea plains are the flattest and smoothest regions of the world. And 3. Gayat is a volcanic mountain on the seabed with its flat tip over the surface of the sea. Choose the correct answer. Very simple question, I guess. 3 people have given 3 answers and nobody got that correct. If anybody is feeling that the YouTube output is a bit low in quality, all you have to do is change the resolution. Change the quality of the YouTube. It might be defaultly set to 144p or something like that. Change it to 480 or 360 and you will be better with it. Okay, upstream is going very beautifully. In your download end, there might be some lack of quality. 5th question, consider the following statements. Number 1, a solar eclipse is witnessed when the moon is aligned between the sun and earth, blocking the light received by the earth from the sun. 2, an annular solar eclipse happens when the moon is the nearest to the earth. Choose the correct answer. Again, something that I have taught you in my current affairs classes. Let me see how many of you remember. 50% of you got that. Yeah, Seema has joined. So Swati and Srisandhal Devi got that right. Very good. 6. Consider the following statements. Number 1, sun's temperature decreases away from the core, with corona having the least temperature. 2, sunspots are darker. Cooler areas are the surface of the sun in the region called the photosphere. Choose the correct answer. Simple question. Those who wish to participate in this quiz, please join the quiz using the quiz code 266770. The instructions are shown by the red arrows here. Please look at it and do join. Yeah, 50% got that. Good work by Swati and Saubhagya. Moving to 7th question. Consider the following statements regarding sunspots. 1. Sunspots are Sunspots are areas that appear dark as they are cooler than the parts of sun surface. They form an area where magnetic fields are particularly weak. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Very simple question. Please join the quiz, okay? If you have not already joined the quiz, please join the quiz via the Unacademy learning app. Otherwise, you may not be able to read the questions. This font is very small and I cannot help it. Okay. Yeah, Vishnu has joined. Sona has joined. Very good. 8th question. Consider the following statements regarding methods involved in exoplanet detection. 1. Doppler spectroscopy is a direct method of exoplanet detection. 2. Transit method uses the fact that whenever a planet passes in front of its star, a small amount of star's light is obstructed. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Exoplanet detection. Yeah, option B is the correct answer. Sri Sindhil Devi leading the quiz, followed by Swati Goswami. Question number 9. Tides occur in oceans and seas due to which of the following? 1. Gravitational force of sun. 2. Gravitational force of moon. 3. Gravitational force of earth. Very simple question. Tides occur due to which of these three forces? Yes, option D is the correct answer. 33% getting it. Very good. 10th question. For the healthy growth of coral reefs, the conditions required is or are dash. 1. Relatively warm tropical oceans with above 20 degrees Celsius temperature. 2. Ocean water with plenty of sedimentation. 3. Relatively high salinity in ocean water. Choose the correct answer. So we have completed our history session for the day and we are looking into a quiz. Okay. We completed the history session by 5:30 and the last 30 minutes is quiz. So please join the quiz using Unacademy learning app. Okay. Download the app, follow the instructions in the screenshot in the PPT and use the quiz code 266270 to join. Yeah, option A 40 is the correct. 40% got that right. Question 11. Consider the following statements about various types of droughts. 1. Meteorological drought is a situation when there is a prolonged period of inadequate rainfall marked with maldistribution of the same over the time and space. 2. Ecological drought is also known as soil moisture drought, characterized by low soil moisture that is necessary to support crops. 3. Hydrological drought is when productivity of a natural ecosystem fails due to the shortage of water. Choose the correct answer. Those who are listening via YouTube, please understand that you may not be able to read the question. Okay, the font size is too small and I cannot do anything about it. So I request all of you to participate using the Unacademy learning app. And only those participants will get a detailed explanation of answers in written format at the end of this test. Because it is given in the app only. Okay, so please join via the app. Question 12. Which of the following statements is or are correct regarding tidal locking? 1. Earth and the moon witness the phenomenon of tidal locking. 2. Tidal locking causes the coast to observe only a single ebb and flow in a day as compared to the normal twice a day phenomena. 3. It occurs only when lunar eclipse is in formation. Choose the correct answer. Simple question, I guess. Tidal locking. Option B, correct answer. Very good. 20% got that. Question 13. Andes mountain system is found between which of the following oceanic plates? Nazca plate and Cocos plate, Nazca and African plate, Nazca and Pacific plate, Nazca and the South American plate. So just if you know where Andes is located, you know the answer. Nazca is there. Okay. The other one, Cocos, African, Pacific, South American. So the plate location can be understood if you know where the mountain system is. Correct answer is option D, South American plate. Okay. Moving to our next question. 14. With reference to the erosion caused by running water, consider the following statements. Number 1. Corrosion is the chemical or solvent action of water on soluble or partly soluble rocks with which the river comes into contact. Not corrosion, corrosion. Okay. 2. Attrition is the wear and tear of transported materials themselves when they roll and collide with one another. Choose the correct answer. So corrosion and attrition. Choose the correct answer. Fifteenth question. Which of the following factors can cause coral bleaching? Okay. 1. Ocean acidification. 2. Increased sedimentation in the area. 3. Increased nutrient concentration. Select the correct answer. Option D is the correct answer. 60% got that. Very good. Hello Srinu, welcome. Question 16. A line on a map connecting points that have the same average percent of cloudiness is called dash. Isohel, isoheight, isotherm, isonef. Please join this quiz. In order to join this quiz, please follow the instructions in the PPT. Okay. Quiz code is 266270. Also, understand that tonight at 8 p.m. in my Unacademy session, I am starting ancient history quiz. Not like the app quiz. It is a session only. I am preparing the questions and I will give you explanations, etc. etc. So join me at 8 p.m. in my Unacademy link. Okay. I'm sorry, Srinu, I did not understand. Inventory. Question 17. Consider the following statements regarding Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. Okay, Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. Sorry. 1. It is a large system of ocean currents that carry warm water from tropics northwards into the North Atlantic. 2. The amok is driven by differences in temperature, salt content and water density. Srinu, it is going on in the Unacademy learning app. Okay, download the Unacademy learning app, then follow the instructions in the screen here. Just look at the first red arrow here, right swipe it and click the plus button as shown here. Then look at the second arrow here, click the test tab. Okay, then hit the join quiz button shown by the third red arrow. And when you are asked to enter the code, you can give this 266270 and you can also participate. Question 18. Climate is extreme, rainfall is scanty, and the people used to be nomadic herders. The above statement best describes which of the following regions? Every year, UPSC asks a question like this. They will give you the climatic conditions and they will ask you to find out the climate type. Okay, very common question UPSC. Options are African savanna, Central Asian steppe, North American prairie, Siberian tundra. Very simple question. Yes. Option B is the correct answer. Nineteenth question. In the continental drift theory, Wagner suggests that the moment responsible for the drifting of continents was caused by pole fleeing force and tidal force. What is the pole fleeing force? I am not going to read the options. It is very simple. You can find out yourself. Pole fleeing force, pretty simple. Direct question. Alfred Wegener, very famous geographer. Yeah, option A is the correct answer. 20% getting it. Twentieth question. Consider the following features associated with river system. 1. Interlocking spurs, rapids, waterfalls and gorges. 2. Shallow valley, meanders and oxbow lakes. 3. Predominant vertical corrosion. 4. Predominant horizontal corrosion. Which of the above features is or are associated with upper course of a river? Another very common question in UPSC. There is upper course, there is a middle course and there is a lower course. So what are the features of all these three courses? Very important to understand. Study them very well. Yeah, correct answer is option A. Nobody getting that. Alright. Twenty-first question. Consider the following statements regarding Indian Ocean Dipole, IOD. Okay, number 1. The IOD is defined by the difference in the sea surface temperature between the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. 2. Warmer sea surface temperature in the Western Indian Ocean and less rainfall over the Southern Australia are characteristics of positive IOD. Choose the correct answer. Simple question. Again guys, tonight at 8 PM I am starting the ancient history quiz series, which will be followed by other medieval and modern later. That is happening in Unacademy app at 8 PM. Please do join. It is not via the app, not like this. Okay, you will be able to participate even without directly. The questions are prepared by me only. Okay, please do join in that. Explanation and all will be there. Question number 22. With reference to marine upwelling zones, consider the following statements. Number 1. Upwelling is a result of winds and the rotation of earth. 2. Nutrients are brought to the surface during upwelling, which increases productivity. 3. Upwelling leads to a change in the coastal climate as there is a considerable decline in the development of sea fog. Choose the correct answer. Okay, those who are joined now, please join the Unacademy app quiz using the following method I have shown in the screenshot. Use the quiz code 266270 in order to participate. Okay, this is absolutely free. I request all of you to participate using the Unacademy learning app. Question 23. Which of the following are the factors affecting ocean salinity? 1. Salinity of water in the surface layer of oceans depends mainly on evaporation and precipitation. 2. Surface salinity is greatly influenced in coastal regions by the freshwater flows from rivers. 3. Wind also influences the salinity of ocean water in an area. The quiz is taking place in Unacademy learning app. It might not be visible in YouTube that much. So I request all of you to participate using the app. Okay. Only the participants will get the detailed answer key at the end of the session in written format. Okay. Yeah, whoever answered it got it correct 100%. That's good. After this at 8 p.m. I have another quiz session in Unacademy app. That is different, not using this live app quiz thing or anything. That is a session, purely session by me. The topic is Indus Valley Civilization and Prehistoric Times. Please join me at 8 p.m. in Unacademy app. Okay. Question 24. Consider the following statements. The higher concentration of dust particles is found in the subtropical and temperate regions in comparison to equatorial and polar regions. 2. Dust and salt particles act as hygroscopic nuclei around which water vapor condenses to produce clouds. 3. Dust particles are only concentrated in the lower layers of atmosphere. Choose the correct answer. There are 50 questions. We have only completed 24. Long way to go. Still time to join. Request all of you to join. 25. Choose the correct statements from the following. 1. The North Sea, in spite of its location in higher latitudes, records higher salinity. 2. Mediterranean Sea records higher salinity due to high evaporation. 3. Salinity is very high in the Black Sea due to the enclosed location. Choose the correct answer. Time's up. Option C is the correct answer. Vishnu at top, Sri Sindhu Devi second, Sri Seema Setti at third place. 26. Consider the following. Number 1, fresh snow. 2, ocean and lakes. 3, sea ice. Arrange the above items in ascending order of their albedo. Very common question in UPSC. You have to arrange them in albedo basis. Very common. Easy question also. Ascending order, okay. Okay, it is 2, 3, 1. Oceans, sea ice. 27. Which of the following landforms is not associated with erosional work of a river? Not associated, okay. Number 1, interlocking spurs. B, meanders. C, oxbow lake. D, floodplains. Very simple question. Interlocking spurs, meanders, oxbow lakes, floodplains. Not associated with erosional work of river. Time's up. Yeah, option D, correct answer. It is the depositional work that causes the formation of deltaic plains or floodplains. Okay. 28. Which of the following is correct regarding accretion burst event? Number 1. Option A. It is an event of a merger of two massive black holes. 2. It is a condition of universe immediately after the Big Bang. C. It is an event of collapse of a black hole. And D. It is an event where a forming star swallows up a huge amount of matter, resulting in a burst of activities. Please join this quiz using the quiz code 266270 via the Unacademy Learning app. 28th question. Option D, correct answer. 60% getting that. 29. Demand for water has been increasing rapidly. Consider the following statements in this regard. 1. India is the largest user of groundwater in the world. 2. Per capita water availability in India has declined to 1000 cubic meters annually. And 3. The Dublin Principle considers water as an economic good. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Yeah, option D is the correct answer. Not many getting that, I think. 30th question. Which of the following sets or pairs is or are correctly matched? 1. River piracy, stages of the river, young. 2. Meanders, mature. Oxbow lakes, old. Choose the correct answer. This quiz is happening via the Unacademy learning app. I request all of you to participate using that app. Yes, next question. 31. Which of the following is or are the characteristics features of polar climate? 1. Summers are cool and brief. 2. Precipitation is mainly in the form of a rain. 3. Normally, not more than 4 months have temperatures below freezing point. Select the correct code. This quiz is happening in the Unacademy learning app. So only those participants who participate using the app will be able to get the full detailed explained answer key. Okay, because it is given through the app only. Okay, that's the reason. Otherwise, I could have given the PDF. Yes, time's up. Correct answer to that question is option C. Very good. Whoever wrote it got it correct. Moving to question number 32. What would have happened if the earth stopped spinning immediately? 1. Atmosphere would come to a complete standstill instantly. 2. Objects on top of earth would be thrown away with greater speed. 3. Every spot in the earth would have permanent daytime or nighttime all the year. 4. It would freeze in a very short period of time. Yep, time's up. Vishnu has crossed the 1000 mark there. 33rd question. The variation of insolation at different locations on the surface of the earth depends on 1. Earth's rotation. 2. Incident angle of the sun rays. 3. Level of atmospheric transparency. And 4. Duration of the day. Choose the correct answer. Last second. Time's up. Correct answer to that question is option D. Yeah. Srisanjal Devi also crossing the 1000 mark there. Very good. 34th question. Assertion. April full moon is traditionally called a pink moon in North America. Reason. The pink colored flower named Phlox subulata that blooms during the spring season in the eastern side of North America. Choose the correct answer. Yep, time's up. 50% correct, got it correct. Option A is the correct answer. Sorry, 35th question. Identify the correct sequence of the given processes regarding rainfall. Unsaturated air, condensation, dew point, precipitation. You have to arrange them in the logical sequence. Unsaturated air, condensation, dew point, precipitation. Yes, very good. '36. Which of the following describes the concept of temperature inversion? A. A sudden change in the temperature of a place due to the approach of air masses. B. A layer of warmer air at the surface is overlain by a layer of it should be colder air. Okay, colder air. A layer of cold air in the surface is overlain by a layer of warmer air. Seasonal change in the average temperature of a place. '37th question. Which of the following is the correct definition of term planets? Okay. A. Small rocky objects that orbit the sun in a region between Mars and Jupiter. 2. Cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rocks and dust that orbit the sun. 3. Planets are the orphaned moons that have escaped the bonds of their parent planet and start orbiting their stars instead. And D. Planets that orbit around the stars other than the sun. Easy question, I think. '38. With reference to the space research, the term bolide refers to dash. A. Extremely bright meteor. B. Dwarf moon. C. Jupiter's moon. D. Bodies beyond the orbit of Neptune. Bolide. Okay. Moving on, we have only 3 seconds remaining in this particular question. We have already completed the NCERT portion. Now we are looking into a quiz. Okay. Yes, time's up. Moving to our next question. Question number 39. When the river tumbles at a steep angle over very hard rocks, it leads to the formation of dash. Option A, meanders. Option B, oxbow lake. Option C, waterfalls. Option D, reverberates. Choose the correct answer. Simple question. Simple question. Should get it. %50% got that. Very good. Sona making the lead there with at 5th place. Very good. 48th question. Consider the following pairs related to different biomes in the world and the regions they are found in. 1. Tundra, the northern hemisphere encircling the North Pole. 2. Savanna, Most extensive in Indonesia and Malaysia. 3. Taiga, Northern Europe, Asia and Northern America. Ten seconds to go, guys. Option A is the correct answer. Very good. Very close contest between Vishnu and Sri Sandhya Devi for the first place. 41. Which of the following is not an intrusive volcanic landform? Laccolith, sills, cinder cone, dike. Easy question. Laccolith, sills, cinder cone and dike. Not an intrusive volcanic landform. I hope you know what is intrusive and extrusive landforms. Okay. So we have already completed our history session for the day and we are looking into a quiz. Okay, about 9 more questions to go today. And this is regarding geography, physical geography. Okay. Please join me at 8 p.m. today at Unacademy app. There I will be conducting an ancient history quiz. Today it's starting, the series is going to start and we will see a series of quizzes in the coming weeks. Okay, I will mention the portion the day before so that you can come prepared. Alright, it will be mentioned in my Telegram channel. The link I will show you after this quiz. I think most of you already know it. It is t.me/msrw1. Okay, I will show the link anyway. Okay, if you do not. There you go. t.me/msrw1. That is my Telegram link. Please do join. Today at 8 p.m. Every day at 8 p.m. 42nd question. Consider the following statements. 1. Aggradation is wearing down of relief variations of the surface of the earth through erosion. 2. Gradation is associated with the deposition work of agents like rivers and winds. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Yep, time's up. The participants will get the full detailed explanation of all the questions in the app itself. If anybody still wish to join this quiz, there are about 7 more questions to go. You can join. All you have to do is download the Unacademy learning app, click the test tab as shown by the arrow here, join the quiz, using the join quiz button and enter this code 266270. 43rd question. Consider the following statements regarding study of Earth's interiors. 1. Volcanic sources are an indirect source of information. 2. Earthquakes are an indirect source of information. 3. Meteors are a direct source of information. So tomorrow we begin with the themes of Indian history textbook 2. Okay, part 2. Today we have already completed our history session by 5:30 and this is the quiz that is going on in geography. Every day we have this quiz session and the theory session. Okay, starting with theory and ending with the quiz. That's how I prepare my classes. It will be very much beneficial for you. 44th question. Which of the following statements is or are correct about sunspots? 1. Sunspots are dark and cooler patches on the sun which increases and decreases in a cyclical manner. 2. When the number of sunspots increases, warm and drier conditions occur on Earth. Choose the correct answer. 44th question. After this, 5 more questions to go. Sorry, 6 more questions to go and we are done. Last 3 seconds. Time's up. Correct answer option A. Wow, 75% got that. Very good. Moving to 45th question. Consider the following statements regarding formation of rocks. 1. Plutonic rocks formed due to cooling of magma on the surface. 2. Volcanic rocks formed due to the cooling of magma inside the crust. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Plutonic rocks and volcanic rocks. Very simple question. Five more questions to go after this one. Yeah, option D correct answer, 25% getting it. Vishnu and Sri Sandhil Devi very closely contesting it for the first place. 46. Which of the following rocks mostly contain the fossil of plants and animals? A. Igneous rocks, B. Metamorphic rocks, C. Sedimentary rocks, D. None of the above. Time's up. (47) Consider the following statements about the limits of Indian Ocean. 1. Southern limit of Indian Ocean extends up to the Antarctic continent. 2. Cape of Perth forms its eastern boundary with Pacific Ocean. Choose the correct answer. Easy question, I guess. 15 more seconds to go for this question. After this, we have 3 more questions and we are done for the day. Yeah, time's up. Correct answer to that question is option A. Very good. All right, there Vishnu taking some lead towards the end, consolidating his lead. That's what I should have said. Consider the following statements. Assertion: the structure of Earth can be understood by observing the passage of earthquake waves through different layers of Earth. Reason: some type of earthquake waves do not travel through liquid material in Earth's layers. Choose the correct answer. Fairly easy. Yeah, time's up. Correct answer to that question is option A. 100% got that. I think 2 people answered it and both of them got it right. Vishnu and Sinsan Devi. I think the leaderboard is almost fixed now. Last 2 questions. 49. Which of these processes provides salts to the oceans? 1. Evaporation. 2. Submarine volcanization. 3. River inflow. 4. Seepage of ocean water to and fro hydrothermal vents. Choose the correct answer. Simple question, I guess. 10 seconds to go. Okay, one more question and after that our session for the day is done. Thank you for joining. Tomorrow we start with the next textbook, that is Themes of Indian History part 2. Okay, today we have completed part 1 of that 12th standard textbook. Tomorrow we start with part 2 of that textbook. Alright, and as usual we will start the class with the theories and end the class with a quiz. Okay. So 50th question, which of the following are correct examples of medium clouds? 1. Cirrocumulus. 2. Altocumulus. 3. Altostratus. 4. Cumulonimbus. And 5. Nimbostratus. This is the last question for the day. And today at 8 p.m. I am doing the Ancient India History quiz in the Unacademy app session that will be conducted by me. I request all of you to join that session and the link for which is provided in my Telegram channel, which is shown here. t.me/msrw1. Okay, please be there live at 8 p.m. I will be joining with a set of 25 questions, 1 hour session. Okay, that's it. We have come to the end of today's quiz and the first place goes to Vishnu. Second, we have Sri Sandhil Devi. Third place, we have Seema Shetty. Thank you everyone for joining. Swati, Sona, Saubhagya did well. Good. Anybody who wish to have the solutions, click the solutions tab adjacent to the leaderboard and you can see the different questions and answers by clicking the arrow button right next to each of the question. Okay, so that's it guys. Thank you for joining. We have come to the end of this session. Please do use my code MSRW1 in order to get 10% discount in any Unacademy subscription. You can take one according to your own needs based on time period, etc, etc. We have also many optional courses going on. You can choose one according to your likings as well. So that is it. We will meet you again at 8 PM today in Unacademy app. Until then, bye bye. This is the end.